wearing very tight boxers affect your balls and your genitalia for the man and for the women, both.
So you're saying we shouldn't hold anything?
It wasn't meant to be packed, to be covered. Our phone is more dirty than the feet. Because you go to the toilet with your phone, place it on the sink, do your stuff, or sometimes even you have your phone and then you put it back, you wash your hands, but you don't wash your phone. And you put it back in your mouth. Okay? Mother Nature is the best doctor. And barefooting is the barefoot doctor's prescription. We say keep it between stretch and relaxation, because pain is not a lifestyle. We say keep it simple, but keep it amazing. Why do I say that? When you walk barefoot, it's very simple, but the outcome is amazing. When patients are told here to umeingiza bariti, that you are suffering from cold disease, which is that disease called cold?
Pneumonia.
Pneumonia is not a disease of cold. It's a bacteria infection.
Really?
Cold only makes pneumonia worse.
In a world where chronic illnesses now claim more lives than war, accidents, and infections combined, health is no longer just a medical concern. It's a mirror reflecting how far we have drifted from balance. Here in Kenya, non-communicable diseases account for over half of hospital admissions, and yet we keep subscribing to convenience while quietly unsubscribing from wellness. Quick one before we dive in. Nearly 90% of you watch our content but haven't subscribed yet. If the Power Dialogue Africa has ever inspired you, please hit that subscribe button. It helps us cast a spotlight on Africa's foremost trailblazers, the thinkers, doers, and dreamers whose story redefine what excellence looks like on this continent. Because here, we don't just sell stories, we reveal the journeys behind greatness, the lessons behind the legacies, and the power within each one of us to rise higher. Now, let's talk about our guest today. Dr. Hamisi Kote isn't just redefining medicine, he is reawakening how we think about health. Through the Barefoot Culture Tour, he's blending science with ancestral wisdom, reminding us that true healing begins when our feet meet the earth. This is the Power Dialogue Africa, where we spotlight African excellence and spark transformation, one powerful conversation at a time. At the Power Dialogue Africa, we believe in celebrating legacies that inspire progress, and there's no better partner for this vision than Sarova Panafric. Born from the bold ambitions of Stelios Stylianides and inaugurated by Kenya's founding father, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, Sarova Panafric is more than a hotel. It's a symbol of Pan-African unity, cultural celebration, and visionary leadership. Just as the Power Dialogue Africa brings together trailblazers from across the continent to share ideas and ignite change, Sarova Panafric has for over 6 decades hosted presidents, pioneers, and patriots who shaped Africa's future. Today, it stands as a beacon of neo-African elegance, blending rich tradition with modern comfort, all while championing sustainability and community empowerment. We are proud to partner with Sarova Panafric, a space where history meets innovation and where Africa's stories continue to be written. Here's to creating powerful dialogues in a venue that embodies the very spirit of our continent's rise.
My name is Dr. Hamisi Ali, a fascia manipulation specialist, the first teacher of fascia manipulation in Africa, and the first Black in the world. And this is the Power Dialogue Africa.
Good morning, Dr. Ali.
Good morning.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you doing this morning?
I am very well.
Yes.
And thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. You're one of my most sought guests.
Thank you so much for taking time to invite me and my team. We're really grateful to be here.
Karibuni sana.
Thank you.
I know your work. I'm familiar with it. I'm even a patient of your garage. So I'd like for you to tell someone who has just come across this, who is Dr. Ali and what do you do? Why are you here today?
Thank you so much for inviting me to the Power Dialogue Africa. We are excited to be able to speak to motherland. I like calling Africa motherland, and be able to share some of the insights that we have seen, learned over the years, and be able to help our people live a better health and wellness life. So I'm really grateful. Dr. Hamisi is a chiropractor who has specialized in fascia manipulation by Stecco. Fascia manipulation is a method of treating the body using manual technique. I'm also the first teacher of fascia manipulation in Africa and the founder of the Human Garage, a place where people come to service, restore, and repair their bodies. And this is also the founder of Tiba Biladawa Foundation, a give back movement that we created to give back to the community for the less fortunate. Actually, I normally say reaching my grandmother in the village. And also the creator of the 12 Weeks to Wellness. Yes, that is Dr.
You're very
Hamisi.
accomplished, and thank you for making time for this.
Thank you.
I'll piggyback on one thing that you have mentioned because you're very popular for that. Walking barefoot. I believe today you're also walking barefoot. What made you start on this journey, and why is it important to you?
I think I'm a very curious individual from a word go. One, I never wanted to be a doctor. I never dreamt of being a doctor. I never felt that I had the qualification or the things that needed to one for to be a doctor. So medicine found me, and pushed back a few years ago. I got to train as a physiotherapist at the Kenyan Medical Training College, and then when I was there, I ended up working with someone, or we treated someone who had physical, paralysis, not complete paralysis, it's called quadriplegic paralysis. And at that time, when we were in second year, we thought it was a big joke. Like, why massage a patient when you can cut them, do surgery, and give them medicine to walk instead of how can massage make them work? But 6 months in our rotation, I was shocked to see this gentleman stand on a frame, or on a walking frame. And to me, that was a big shift from my way of thinking. And I started wondering, what is it that is in our hands that would make someone heal like that? And I remember going to the library to look for treatments for paralysis. And I spent a lot of time and I didn't find any. However, I came across the book by Ben Carson, Gifted Hands. And I read that book overnight and looking for the gift in the hands. I didn't find the gift, but something in my head changed. So fast forward, I qualified and started working at the Nairobi Hospital. And when working at the Nairobi Hospital, I met my American dad, a gentleman who had come in to visit Serengeti, and unfortunately he was unwell and he was airlifted to Nairobi, and I became his therapist in the intensive care unit. This gentleman ended up giving me a scholarship of $500,000 to go to study chiropractic in the US. And when I got to the US, I was shocked, or rather I discovered the feat. It may sound silly, but I discovered the feat in the sense that at that time, everybody was talking about the Vibram 5-finger shoes, which actually I brought my first copy, the copy that I got. They talked about that Kenyan runners,
Yes,
who have always, the giants of marathons, name them Kipchoge, even
Faith
Kipyegon,
Kipyegon.
they all started barefoot.
They did.
Yes. And so at the time, people were making these shoes because, again, white people have very soft feet. So they were making this so that people can buy them to be able to mimic barefoot walking.
Yeah.
And I was the only one who didn't have a pair. So I ended up buying one and wearing, because I was very curious, like, how come I don't know that walking barefoot would make me a better runner? And I never wore shoe when I was in school.
So you discovered this while in the US?
In the US at the Palmer College of Chiropractic. Actually, I was blessed to go to the fountainhead of chiropractic, where chiropractic started. So that created a curiosity in my head, wanting to understand, are you really sure? Like, when you walk barefoot, you can run faster. I've never had it. I'm from there. We are supposed, and me, I'm wearing a shoe now. I started affording to wear a shoe. How come you want to go back to not wearing shoes? So that curiosity made me start studying the foot, and I studied the anatomy in motion of the foot. That opened for me a curiosity of the biomechanics of the foot. It didn't answer everything that I wanted answered until about 2016, when I did my first international course on fascia manipulation by Stecco in Italy. And it's at that time, from what we had learned in the class, that more impact was put in my hand. One, that I came to know that this surface of the hand is different from this surface of the hand anatomically, and not just by accident, but anatomically designed to help a human being survive on Earth. So this makes us not to blind when we walk. If we had this on this side, then every time we walk, would feel like the way when you walk with slippers with water, like
you
sliding. But now this allows us to grasp. Also, the innervation, meaning the nerve supply, the blood supply, the lymphatic supply, and the architecture of the hand and the foot are so complicated and have a lot of impact to how the body functions. So I came to realize that these form like an antenna. It's like the area of the body: the feet, the hands, the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and the ears. And that for me was like profound. I was like, wow, like really, 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 really caught aback by it. And then of course I bought this and I started wearing them, but I never really took it very serious. But I was still skeptical. I was still not sure. I still didn't walk barefoot in public. And then fast forward, we got COVID. And when COVID came, I listened to everything that was being said and asked myself, having been in the hospital for many years, we managed a lot of symptoms. And now we are being told that we have to be able to clean up our hands every minute, get a vaccine to make us healthy. And then I looked at a picture flashed in my hand about the wards in Kenyatta, the wards in Kilifi, the wards in Nairobi Hospital, and the many patients who are lying there with infection. And I asked myself, if really being vaccinated was the only way to boost health, then we should be living longer than our grandparents. Because if we look today, our parents, and then we look at our grandparents, who are, most of them are in the 80s, 90s, and 100s, most of them have died with their mental faculty intact. Most of them, there was nothing hygienic about them. Yes, I'm sure you went to eat from your grandmother. There was nothing hygienic about your grandmother.
Hata sufuria saa zingine zilikuwa tu zinapikiwa venye zilipika mwisho.
Yes, he would, spit, take tobacco out, chew banana for the baby, and the baby eats. But you never had any kid hospitalized by that. So I started questioning myself. I was like, oh, okay. Then I looked at the vaccines. We have been told, yes, we all need to be vaccinated. But then I said, the Akorino people, the Mormons people, and also those old people never got vaccinated. But they survived. Yes, people died, but we don't have statistics for how many. And we are told vaccination is the way to go. Well, maybe, or maybe not. Because if it's the way to go, then us who got vaccinated, we have never even to date had any research done on us to show how much improvement happened to our health, or to our immunity. So I was not convinced. And then what killed it was when we were told the vaccine can be produced in 3 to 6 months. Because how could the vaccine be produced in 3 to 6 months? And when I was in high school, we were told vaccines take 18 years to be, to be researched, to be tested, to be done, everything, to be, for it to be ready. So I started saying, wow, even if I'm going to be getting this vaccine, I need to do something else to help myself. Why? Because I've been in the hospital, and the best hospital in Kenya, and also had been to UK. And I never saw a permanent fix of many things. There was symptoms management and healing that happened, and people regained back their lives, but they never fully healed. Something lingered on.
So it was just more of management?
Yes, mostly management. Apart from things like fractures, accidents that were easily fixed, the other things is still a mirage. So this made me come up with 8 things that I would want to do for myself to boost my immunity. One of them was barefooting. So I went back to my barefoot to study now more about the barefoot. The other one was breathing. The other one was sleep. The other one was fasting. The other one was meditation. The other one was healthy eating. The other one was movement. And the other one was, what do you call it? I've said meditation, right? What's one more thing? Well, I'm forgetting. When I remember, I'll say it.
Okay.
So these 8 things became my free gifts of nature that our grandparents used to survive, used to live in the cave days. So I started doing my breath work, and I started walking barefoot in a strong belief that I'm gonna improve my health. And true it did, because
was there research to prove that your health improved? Or can you quantify the improvement?
Because I never got sick, and everybody was sick, and I worked throughout COVID.
So you started just when COVID had hit, or is it just
when COVID just started?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And I treated a lot
Did you
of
get
patients.
the vaccine?
No.
Okay.
No. Because I was not convinced. Myself, I was not convinced, and I did not understand why we were being forced. If it is so good, why were we being forced? Number 2. Number 3, why was the Minister of Health, who was not a doctor, championing it? I never had top doctors from Kenyatta, Nairobi Hospital, Aga Khan, coming on TV to tell us. But what killed it was the daily statistics. I worked in Kenyatta. You cannot get daily statistics at the time the way they were trying to say. It was paper file. So you cannot tell me that in this paper file you're able to compile all the patients who have been tested that day, compile it and post it accurate information on a daily basis.
Are you saying we're not that efficient?
I'm sorry to say, in the government house it's not. It's the reality, and I'm not doing this to hurt anyone, but it's the truth. For me, these things were like, okay, wait a minute. There are things that made me hold brakes, and that's how I started walking barefoot. But at the same time, I was having back pain. I used to be a shoe fetish. I used to have the latest shoe that comes out. Maybe about 80, 70 pairs of shoes. But now I bought this one shoe during this time of COVID that was expensive. It was about 20,000. And I only wore it for a week. Every time I wore it, I get pain on the back and developed a con. This con is still there. This one.
From the 20,000
This one.
shilling shoe.
Yes. And it gave me a very bad backache. And I could be treated. I could be adjusted. My fascia would be worked on. But still painful. Remove the shoe, no pain. And that's when I said, you know what? Why would I destroy my body if my body says no? So I never looked back from then. And the other thing is, I would say, when you get home today, what is the first thing you're going to do?
Remove my shoes.
What do you feel?
So much comfort.
And relaxed.
Yes.
What is the message from your bed that is silent?
There's a problem with the shoe, maybe.
The body doesn't like it. It makes it not to be free. The body is not free when it's enclosed in shoes.
It's just like removing a bra for women.
Exactly. Even the bras were not supposed to be tied up.
Are you saying we should walk barefoot and don't put on bras?
If you ask me, no. Yes. How many Griama women who sometimes will find throwing their breast to the child at the back or here? When I worked in Kilifi, we could see those have breast cancer.
They throw the breast.
Yeah, the breast. She has had like 15 kids. The breast have been sagging as the kids keeps on sucking and sucking the mother. That the bread has become so long that just pass it to the kid or throw it from here. And yeah, how many do you find with breast cancer?
I don't have those statistics,
You
but
know,
I will look into them and just...
Even Turkana, look at these remote areas where people have not been exposed to all this civilization. It's the same thing with the boxers.
What's wrong with the boxers?
Wearing very tight boxers affect your balls and your genitalia for the man and for the women, both.
So you're saying we shouldn't hold anything?
It wasn't meant to be packed to be covered.
So just to be curious, so you don't do boxers? Do you do boxers yourself?
I do boxers, but I do cotton boxers.
What's the difference?
They don't maintain heat and absorb moisture. Same. Women get a lot of UTI because of panty. Worse, because of the tampons and the pads we use. Did you know that? Actually,
there's a particular brand of pads that if I use, I will definitely get a UTI. So I know which one it is and I avoid it.
But our grandparents never used anything like that.
So, but we are in the 21st century. Surely, doctor, we can't go back to
I'm not saying
that
we go
kind
back.
of
I'm not saying we go back.
civilization.
I'm not saying we go back,
Yes.
but we need to be real. What is it that made this animal? Because we are animals. We try to think we are special from other animals. But are we? No, we are not. We are still the same as a cow. The only difference is that we think, but maybe even the cow thinks, maybe even the cow thinks, just that we don't know how the language it uses. But just the fact that we have been empowered to have a brain to create and to think for ourselves has made us try to imagine how to live better than how God created us to.
I'm very curious, and something my friends were curious about when I mentioned was coming to speak to you about your feet. You've mentioned the shoes, you got them from the US. Is that right?
Yes.
And their feet are softer, you said?
Yes.
So I'm just curious because the level of development is very different from most developing countries and even here in Nairobi. So the question was, why don't you ground? Is grounding the same as walking barefoot? Grounding, the theory of grounding.
Yes.
What happens if you're always walking barefoot? When you come to Nairobi, it's not very clean, and with the rains, it floods. So how do you maneuver the sewage and whatever? Because I imagine the level of development here is not the same as US, so it's a bit hygienic for them to practice walking barefoot as compared to here in Kenya. How do you manage to circumvent the situations?
But that's not true.
Which part is not true?
When you go to any big city, the amount of trash that we produce is the same. You go to, when I walk in Amsterdam, I walk in New York barefoot, you find glasses, you find trash on the streets.
So if you encounter a sewerage, maybe that has burst, how do you go about it?
I just go.
Do you step on it?
Yes, I just go. If there's nowhere to jump, I just go. Yes.
Oh, really? That's really interesting.
Because one thing is, we are all looking at the earth as dirty. But let's go fast forward to the same development that we are talking about. We are learning this from the Bible, that we are made from the Bible, the Quran, that we are made from the soil, right? So how different is the soil that has made you and the one ground? I thought it's the same soil.
But sewage is not
the one
soil.
The one who is making it dirty, it's you. It's your waste, which is just going back to where it came from. So, in the last 6 years, I've been able to some things don't make some. I've been able to challenge some things. For example, infection. You cannot get just infection just because of walking barefoot. It's not true. From my experience.
Has there been research to back
I'm talking about my own personal experience.
Over these 6 years?
Yes. Because our phone is more dirty than the feet. Because you go to the toilet with your phone, place it on the sink, do your stuff, or sometimes even you have your phone and then you put it back, you wash your hands, but you don't wash your phone. And you put it back in your mouth. And most people don't wash. When they don't wash, they wipe, right? So sometimes you wipe, and sometimes you can get it in your hand and get it in your phone, right? So Can you see what I'm trying to say?
Yes, I understand.
Like that germ theory is just it's a theory. It is not a scientific proof that if you interact with that you get more sicker. Because if it is so, even COVID time, the people who died more were the people who tried to separate themselves from that. And the people who are the chokoras, people who lived in the slum areas, had little effect.
It's true.
Same thing. Most European countries, most developed countries, people died more than Africa. They thought we would die more, but we didn't. Why? Because we still that. It's as simple as that.
So that is good.
That is good.
And germ theory, I've learned that from you today. Dr. You describe the body as the human garage.
Yes.
What are some of the broken parts that you have encountered in your practice that people often present with?
People always come to the garage or go to see or go for treatment to treat body parts. Excuse me. They go to treat body parts. They don't go to treat a system, a whole person. You go there because your shoulder hurts. So your shoulder is not connected to your gut, it's not connected to your eyes, it's not connected to your feet, it's just the shoulder. But how did the shoulder pain start? Oh, I woke up and it was painful. If you just woke up and it was painful, are you sure it's the shoulder? How can you prove it's the shoulder?
It's the one I feel the pain.
That's why you feel, but is that the cause? We don't go back to look at the cause. So one day, I was making after studying fascia for several years, I was making an egg, and as I opened the egg, I saw the 3 layers. I saw, I'm holding the shell, and then as the egg is dropping to the pan, these are the 2 layers: the white yolk, the yellow yolk, and then there's the supporting membrane and a dripping fluid. And to me, that was wow. I was like, interesting. It gave me this idea to create what we call now the 3 pillars of health. The 3 pillars of health is the shell. We named it the structure. The yellow yolk, which feeds, which is eaten by the yellow yolk. The white yolk, which is eaten by the yellow yolk during the time that the egg has been fertilized, is the metabolism, is the fuel that fuels the structure.
That's the white part.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the yellow yolk is the life, which is in us, movement. So I came up with these 3 pillars. I call them structure, metabolism, and emotion. And I have realized that you cannot treat the body separate of these 3 things. If you have backache, you have shoulder pain, you have headache, you have whatever you have to be able to address it through structural work to correct whatever dysfunction.
What do you mean by structural work? Is it the body?
Yes,
the joints,
this physical part. Whatever that dysfunction that might have happened in this structure of body, the fuel that you put to run this system.
So the food
we eat. And number 3, the movement. The movement generates power, generates electricity. That's called the piezo energy. And this piezo energy is what fires, is what powers our body, is what we call in Chinese medicine qi. It is what makes me and you to be seated here and speaking. When the qi is gone, there's no life. So I came to realize that we are always treating parts. Oh, I have shoulder pain. So we go and do painkillers, a massage, a pain relief gel, and that's it. But maybe before the shoulder pain, you've had stomach problems for years, fatty liver, you name it. All those, the fascia connection of the gut and the shoulder is clearly demonstrated scientifically, and how that dysfunction from the gut can cause us shoulder pain.
So can you know, if I am not you, can I know that my pain here is caused by another body part? Or do I have to go to a specialist to know? Because if it's here,
you need to be able to, yes, you can. You can also tell it to yourself. How can you do that? For us to get healthy or to have wellness, we need to be able to look at our medical history from actually before birth, before conception. And I'll give you an example. If you're taking a lot of, let's say, family planning pills at a young age, or you're doing Viagra as a young man before you get married, and then 10 years later you get married, First of all, you need to remember that WHO advises that you can only take P2 twice a year. But you take it every Monday morning.
Actually, it's like Fridays when you go to campus or where there are many college students.
Yes.
It's every Friday.
Yes.
It's weekly.
Yes. And can you imagine the damage? That's why we have a lot of problems today with reproductive
twice a
health.
year. Only twice a year.
Yes, it's supposed to be like that.
So what is recommended for youth who are sexually active and they don't use protection?
And this, now is because we now broke another. This modernization made us break another value. Sex is not a game. Sex is supposed to be for reproduction, so it's supposed to be sacred. It's not supposed to be shaded out left, right, and center. And the moment we cross that, then we have to look for something to mitigate it. And this is the pills that are causing us more problems. But if we were to go back into our values and say no sex until marriage, for example, you don't need pills.
Yeah. But this is where society is. For the ones that are sexually active, is there a safer, not that we are championing the lack of values, but is there a safer way besides P2?
Me, I'm very traditional, so I'll say I still stick with the values.
Yeah.
Yes. And say the very safest one would be condom. It's not the safest, but the best, the one that has least side effects would be the condom. Yes.
I believe nowadays many youth are more scared of the girls. They're more scared of getting pregnant than even HIV and other STIs.
It's very sad.
It's very to say the least.
And it's because now sex it's just another thing. It has no value. Sex used to be, I remember, like when you're growing up, sorry, let me use it as an example, as a girl, leave alone having sex. Would you even hug a boy in the village?
Hardly.
If you'd have to look in a corner somewhere to hide to hug a boy, because it
seems so intimate. Hugging.
Yes, exactly. Anyone in the community would have seen you as immoral, isn't it?
It's
and
true.
You'd have been a bad example for your family. So it is this moral that we have gone simplifying because we have also adopted a culture that is not ours. The culture that we have adopted and dropped everything that was ours is what is making us more sick today. Because our culture was demystified to be witchcraft, to be backward, to be everything bad. But really, if it was that bad, why are we here? Why are we here? Would have perished. And then also we should also ask ourselves, how come the people who are coming to teach us these new things, they don't do it, they didn't pick anything of ours and taught them in their countries? These are the hard things. And I'll tell you, as I mentioned earlier, medicine, I think the missing medicine in the world is the African medicine. Because in Africa, we have all the seasons of the year. Meaning we used to have all sorts of herbs and plants and minerals that grow here that were used for healing in whatever ways they used them. Because the other countries don't have the one thing of their own like we have. Yes.
I'm very curious about, you said problems can start even before conception.
Yes.
How do you go about treating an individual who maybe was affected by the pills and what have you, or problems that started before conception, and how do they normally present, and is there a way to tell where the problem started from?
Mostly is in the history. Mostly is in the history. When you're taking the history of the patient, you try to ask more information. So, for example, if I'm treating a kid with, let's say, ADHD, for example, or cerebral palsy, whatever, I like going back to find out how easy was it for you to conceive. That's the first question I would ask. And if it was not easy for you to conceive, how are your menses? Were they painful? Were they irregular? Were they irregular? Were they adequate? Were they only little drops? Was it thick? Or was it just water? What can you tell me about it? How much UTI, recurrent infections, yeast infections were you getting, and how did you manage those? I would like to know that. Then when you got pregnant, what is your journey of pregnancy? What was the challenges? Were you one of those when from day one you are sick to delivery? You know, all those things are important for you to understand. And then how was the delivery process? What was the weight of the baby? Was the delivery natural? Was the delivery vaginal? Vaginal, or was it cesarean?
What difference does it make, the cesarean and vaginal?
Oh, physiological benefits and actually immunity benefits are immense when you're born through the vagina.
Is there research to
Yes, yes, yes.
So you're stronger if you're born the
Natural
normal way.
Yes. And that's, I'll give you an example. Kids who are born natural way, how many times do you see them in hospital with allergies? Kids who are born in C-section, they are always at 3 a.m. The father and the mother is at the pediatrician at 3 a.m. singing lullaby for high temperatures. You know.
Let me not delve into that. There's a story that you have told before, Dr. Harry, about how your grandmother suffered from cancer, and that how shaped your journey and your views and your perspective around conventional medicine. Please tell us about that.
My grandmother is my sang hero. She was my guinea pig, and with all my trainings and the things I'd done, I knew a lot, but I didn't believe it. I was not sure it works.
And just to take you back, you mentioned that when you started your practice, you didn't believe in it. How do you try to master something you don't believe in?
Because it's so off. You know, school system shapes us to be workers, not thinkers. And school systems trains us to be followers of rules and not think out of the rules or ask why. So I was almost drawn into that, but my mind always likes asking why. So when I was treating patients, and we were told you can treat patients, you know, who have other conditions other than muscle pain, I was not comfortable because I believed that was the doctor's role. But when my grandmother got cancer, I remember I went home, and I have it in video. In fact, we recorded it, and my grandmother was crying like a child in a lot of pain. And I was like, what's wrong? She said, I need to show you something. And she removed her breast, and her breast was all very, very red. Very, very red around the nipple and the areas around it, and very shiny and swollen. And I said, hey, we need to go to hospital. And my grandmother turned to me and said, I'm not going nowhere. I'm not going to hospital because I cannot die, without my breast. And I was only the child. My grandmother has children, my uncles and my aunts. So I had to reach out and say, hey, this is the situation with your mother. And she has said she's not going to go to hospital. Can you guys talk to her? And they tried. And she said, no. Then she asked, what are you going to do? She said, if there's nothing you can do with what you have learned so far, then you guys will leave me the way I am with just painkillers. But I'm not having my breast cut, and I'm not going to hospital. Because if I go to hospital, my breast will be cut. I've never been so stressed.
Had you started your practice?
Yes. And I had started living with my grandmother because I grew up with my grandmother. So me and my grandmother have been very tight because I was the most naughty kid you can ever think of. So the only person who we could agree and understand each other very well was my grandmother. So I was when I came back from the US and I set up my practice, at the time calling it the Premier Rehab and Wellness Centers. I called my grandma to stay with me. Just because I wanted to give her a difference, you know, like I wanted to pay back, and I didn't want, and also I didn't want her to be so far from me. I was seeing the days were going, and she was having difficulties in walking and all these things. And I thought if she stayed near me, I would help her, and this is how it started. So when she said that, first I froze, and the next thing my mind said, "But you can do something. You have learned something. Why don't you try it?" So I used my acupuncture needles and put them in different points of fascia manipulation by Stecker. How did you
convince her to take that approach now that she had said she didn't want to go to hospital?
How did I? Sorry?
How did you convince her to try acupuncture? You know, it's not something that we're used to.
Because she had already said she would want to try what I do.
Okay.
So, so I did the needles. And in like half an hour, the pain was, no, she was not in pain. And she started, smiling and I was like, okay, but how long is it going to last? So I convinced her so I convinced her, let's see what will be there tomorrow. And the following day, she was still not in pain, but it had busted out into oozing pus. So I told her, look, you cannot be staying with a lot of pus, let's find a place we can go and have you dressed. And we started going to AR in Ruaka. I used to live in Ruaka then. And we did 3 dressings. The 4th dressing, we were chased away.
Why?
Because the doctor said, if you are not going to go for specialized treatment, see an oncologist, then I am not going to take responsibility of just doing dressing here. It's a big risk for the organization, the clinic, and himself. And totally understandable. And I remember I came home and my grandmother said, we've now been told we cannot go there for dressing. So I had 2 options: to look for a second place or do it myself. So there's another doctor, a friend of mine, used to...
And where were her children during this process? Because I imagine everyone will be concerned.
They were concerned and they tried, but my grandmother had her head of her own. If she says there's a no, it's a no. There's nothing you could do to change it. And everybody thought I would brainwashed her. The blame was all falling on me. So anyway, when we were chased away, there was another doctor who was working for Equity Afia who had just opened across, not far from where we were living. And I went and talked to her one-on-one. Like I told her, look, please help me, because my grandmother needs this dressing and she will not do the surgery and she will not go to the hospital, but she needs the dressing. How can you help me? And she agreed to do the dressing, to be doing the dressing at the clinic. But as we were doing the dressing, the wound started healing, and we have this also documented. And in about 6 to 8 weeks, the wound was completely closed, and that was the biggest relief I've ever had. And that gave me that confidence of like, whoa, okay, so what we are doing, what we are learning is not just, there's a bigger meaning to it. My grandmother at the time used to walk with a walking frame, walking cane, bent. And then I introduced her into exercise, and introduced her into swimming. I introduced her into horse riding. We started going for movies.
Really?
Yes. We started going. I decided,
She's just a girl. You gave her a girl
yes. I
child.
felt I came up with this thing that we call living the How to Stay Young class, the first 100 years. I created something that is called the How to Stay Young class, the first 100 years. And I said, what is it that I can do to this lady to restore her life back? So I started doing all these things. Take her to walks, take her to safaris, do things that she never did as a girl. Things that my grandfather didn't do. Yes. And the more we did those, the more vibrant, the more life I started seeing appearing in her. The less drugs she was using for pain, the less drugs she started using for arthritis, for diabetes, the less dosage for hypertension. And slowly we went and withdrew all of the drugs.
Wow. Which year was this when she started getting better?
That was 2019.
Okay.
Yes.
Your grandmother seems to be very open-minded,
Yes.
which is something very rare. As you've said, we are taken to school to think a particular way, to just work and really think for ourselves. I'd like for you to tell us, how did you navigate this period? Because I imagine even the doctor who chased you away probably didn't believe that this works, or thought you were
careless.
Yes. How did you navigate that? Because sometimes you might have doubts in you. What kept you going? Because I imagine people who were not familiar with that journey probably thought you were not okay.
I prayed a lot.
Yeah.
I'm very prayerful.
Yes.
I pray a lot. I have one-on-one with my creator all the time, and not necessarily in a building, but all the time. And I really prayed a lot that I was doing the right thing, and that I was not endangering her life, and that if I was doing so, then may God forgive me, and may also my family and her friends and relatives forgive me for whatever outcome that would come out. But it turned out on the other side. So it was a great win for me. And that opened, actually helped the clinic change from premier rehab and wellness centers to the human garage, because I learned one big lesson, that we cannot heal anyone. What we can do is we can service, we can repair, and we can restore the body, and then step aside and let the power that made the body heal the body naturally, because it's there.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. We often say that we are fine, but pain in our body, I heard from a previous talk, you said some present physically, some don't. How do we get to know if you're fine or not?
So the three pillars we talked about: motor nerves is the skeletal body of us, autonomic nerves is the internal system of the body, and the sensory nerve, you can say, is the yellow yolk. Okay, you can see that continuity, and you can see the fascia. Okay, and then there must be a fluid, of course, that is suspending this and allowing them to move. So before we ever get sick, we normally start with either weakness of the muscles, spasms, fatigue, tightness. These are the ones that come way, way, way before we get any pain. Or we can also have allergies, we can have low energy, we can have digestive problems, we can have breathing problems. And again, these ones can live with us for many years before we ever complain of any pain. And then lastly, the sensory part, which is the smallest part in our body, starts get affected. That's why you start seeing people change in posture. You start see people complain of hot and cold. They are not able to regulate their temperature when it's hot or when it's cold. And then one day, boom, pain. So why does that happen?
What do you mean by tightness? Let me stay there. Tightness.
Tightness is stiff. You know, like that. You feel like, I want to go and have a massage. I feel like, you see people all the time. I feel, why do you want to go and have a massage? It's because something is not, it's not free the way it should be. Otherwise, if you feel like that, you don't need a massage. When you were in high school, did you need a massage? No. But as you started working and getting more stressed, you feel like you want someone to rub you. So this is, so we notice that the sensory, which transmits pain, is only a very small portion of the central nervous system. Okay? And therefore we say feeling good is not equals to good health, but good health is equals to healthy function. And we say nerve tension exists without pain. So this system gets clogged as we get older, because the fascia tissue, this connection tissue, gets tight, stiff, and since the fascia is a membrane, is a fibrous tissue that covers each and every part of us, covers the blood vessels, the nerves, the bones, the internal organs, everything in us. It puts it together to create shape of who we are. When it gets tight, it becomes like a tourniquet. So it compresses nerve, blood vessels, lymphatic vessels, bones, organs, and all when they get tight and squeezed, their functionality also reduces. Their communication between each other gets interfered. So the brain does not always get good feedback as it should. And that interruption of the feedback creates a dysfunction. And the dysfunction is the first sign of disease.
Okay.
Yes.
Actually, just to take you back, you mentioned fascia.
Yes.
I believe most of our listeners are not aware with what fascia means.
Yes.
And you mentioned you're also the first teacher of fascia in Africa. Kindly tell us what fascia is and how it plays a role into our wellness. Yeah.
So when you're eating meat, or even when you go to the butcher and you want meat to be cut, what do you see? Do you see a muscle? Or do you see the muscles have also a separation that is clearly demarcated? Precision of how it's separated. Do you see that? That thing that causes that clear separation is white.
Is it the thing just below the skin when they're killing an animal?
Yes. But also you need to remember that fascia is in different forms. There's superficial fascia and there's the deep fascia. Okay. So, but that white thing.
Yes.
And that's the white thing that you also see when you're eating the meat that you have to pull. Mm-hmm. That is the fascia. It's the fibrous connective tissue that wraps, connects, and holds the body together for one very specific reason. the gliding, it has to stretch and relax, because these are the two functions that happen in our body. And they're the most critical functions, the stretch and relaxation. Because even for me to speak, even for us to have body functions, there has to be that stretch and relaxation. Like we saw in the egg, that fluid that separates this, that fluid and that membrane that separates these layers of the egg, allow it to be able to be mobile. And this mobility is what allows the body to function. So when this mobility has been interfered with, then the communication between different parts of the body to the brain and back gets interfered. And that interference will cause the body to try to look for another way of doing it. And that other way is creating a dysfunction.
Is that where the tightness comes in?
That's exactly where the tightness will come in. Yes.
And how does fascia manipulation as a form of, I don't want to say treatment. Is it treatment?
It is. It's a method. It's a method of treatment.
A method of treatment come in. How does it really work? When someone comes to you with a tightness, with a dysfunction, how does it work?
We need to also understand that this is not something new. This is something that was done by our great-grandparents. It's the way they used to heal. They used to heal with massage, very deep massages, cuts. And also when you look at things like acupuncture, it's the same. They put needles in specific places. And even those massages that were done those days, they were not just done random. No, they were done on specific spots. These specific spots are areas where the tissues have the likelihood of being stuck. They're either the two layers have some connection, and this area is also where the nerve and the nerve, the artery, the vein, the lymphatic vessel are also passing through. So when they get stuck, that movement is stopped, and it causes a strangulation to these structures, and these structures now stop supplying the area or the organ that they need to. So when a patient comes to us, we ask a lot of questions from childhood. We want to know, are you getting flus? Are you getting fevers? Or did you have jaundice? Did you have constipation? Did you get ankle sprain? As you're growing up, the things that we have had, so that we can be able to have an understanding. When was the first time that your fascia started crumbling, getting tight and stiff? Because once we understand that, and you understanding that fascia looks at the body in 3D, three-dimensional figure, and because the body, we move in flexion, extension, side and rotation, we understand, so when this is stuck this way, or this is stuck this way, this can be the pathway, this can be the pattern. And when we release the tension or the nerve pressure in these areas, then we can restore flexibility, the gliding, and at the same time rejuvenate the tissue to heal itself.
And I forgot to mention that you're a doctor who treats without medicine.
Yes.
So it's the fascia that you concentrate on, so that you don't need to have an introduction of the conventional medicine. Is that right?
Yes, because you have to treat the function, not the sign and symptom. You have to understand the anatomy of the why. Because if you understand how it works, how it was built, you understand how it was built and how it works, it's easy to know when it goes wrong and what you can do to restore it. It's the same way when you look at wellness today in Kenya or worldwide. It mostly is done wrong way, because we are all focusing on food. What about the structure? The food cannot be digested if the structure is faulty.
So it's incomplete.
Yes. Yeah, most people focus on what? On food, nutrition, and they focus on exercise. But if the structure itself is spoiled, no matter how much these two you do, you're going to get somewhere, but not 100%. You need to free up the structure so that the structure can be able to feed properly, can be able to move properly, so that it can function excellent. Yes.
Dr. Since you treat without medicine, what can you say is the correlation or the connection between medical, like conventional medicine, and wellness? And do you believe they should interact, or are they separate? When would you encourage someone to go to hospital, and when will you encourage them to come to you so that you use fascia manipulation?
Anything that is emergency, it needs to be at the hospital. Modern medicine has done amazing work with emergency care. However, they have not done the same with chronic life diseases. So when you have chronic life diseases, you've gone there to the doctor with high blood pressure, for example. The doctor has diagnosed it, has given you the initial treatment to fix it. The next step you need to step is to us, to people who are doing wellness, so that now we can start helping you reverse the blood pressure. before it hardens all your arteries, before it turns out to diabetic, before it causes organ failure. Because if you only taking tabs, you're only cooling the symptom. It's like if you're driving your car and your car shows you check light engine, and instead of going to put a diagnostic kit to check what's wrong with your car, you come up with a black tape measure and you put a solid tape and you cover the check light engine. Yes, you'll not see the check light engine, but still, the whatever is causing the problem is ongoing.
Doctor, if you could give any Kenyan a health reset kit for the check light engine, what 3 lessons or what 3 behaviors would you recommend that you adopt? Because right now we are battling with obesity. Actually, 13% of Kenyans are obese, and you have problems with processed foods and other things. What 3 things would you put in that health reset kit for us?
I'd put barefoot, I would put breath work, I would put sleep.
Those 3.
Yes.
But Nairobi, we are prone to working too fast, too hard. If you have a busy lifestyle, how do you incorporate that? Because we have people who work more than they sleep, and there are instances that you can't really manage those 3. Is there a way
Breath work takes you maximum of 4 minutes.
Okay.
Barefooting, maximum of 30 minutes.
And when you say barefoot, most of Nairobi is either cabro or tarmac. How do we ground ourselves?
Lucky for us today, there are grounding mats, there are grounding mattresses that we can buy and sleep on.
Okay. So you sleep on the mattress?
Yeah, you can sleep on the mattress and you still be grounded. You get the same benefit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and in I don't remember, there's a place I went, they have it on the sockets of, like there's a grounding wire that you can plug your grounding mattress that grounds on the ground, and your body is get the same benefits of grounding. That's if you don't walk, for example. But it's important that we move our shoes and step on the soil, because the soil has life. If it didn't have life, nothing would grow in it. We step in the grass because the grass has life.
So if you go to Karura, we should remove our shoes.
100%. But you have to start slowly.
Yes.
You cannot walk barefoot tomorrow if you have been on shoes all the time.
You'll shock your body.
Yes. It has to gradually, like the way going to school, to school, the way you introduce a kid to going to school, until your body and your feet becomes adaptable to rough conditions. Yes.
Do you believe that heels help with posture? Personally, I find it easier to walk when I'm in heels than when I'm putting on flat shoes. Is this myth true or not?
I think it's not. It's the opposite. It's more damaging than it is healthy.
Why?
I'll ask you a question. You said you met your grandmother and your grandfather.
Yes.
Yes? Did you ever see her with high heel?
I wasn't keen.
Let's say you didn't see it, or you saw it. Maybe
Yes.
you didn't see it.
Maybe Rabas. Yes.
But what you need to understand is that when you wear a shoe like yours, can I give you a shoe as an example?
Yes.
Can I have it?
Sure.
When you wear a shoe like this, what is it doing to your toes? It's compressing all those toes here.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
Our feet are supposed to be like this, like a comb. When you wear this, now when you're young, it's perfect. But I can tell you, you give this to your mother, she'll throw it away or hit you with it, because she did it. And today, her feet are like this, crumbled, toes that are in, toes that are very ugly, and immobility. She is not able to move properly. Why? Because the foot has lost its biomechanical feedback to the body. Your spine, that is supposed to be upright, has been created to have a very sharp curve, causing you immense low back pain, causing you immense stiffness, side problems, headaches. But you don't associate it with the feet. But when your feet are free and out to be able to allow you to move properly, you have good balance. You have good stability. You have good feedback from your body. You have no backache. So when you put your spine into this position and crumple your toes, you can take it to the bank. You'll have a problem with your eyes or ears or mouth, something. Something will come. Yes, you can take that to the bank. And as you do it and as you get older, your back will hurt and hurt serious. Your knees will complain. Your shoulders will cry. And then you'll start having, oh, I'm told I have a heel span. There's a bone that is growing in my bone. You know, you're told there's a bone that is growing. You need to have pads. You need to have this. You need to have that. But all those are supporting symptoms. If you remove your shoes, you don't need any of that. And your pain will completely go away. Because walking barefoot or putting your feet in the ground not only gives you biomechanical advantage, but it also gives you the chemical advantage that we've discussed. So high heels for me, if I was a girl and I must wear them, I would wear them more or less than 30 minutes in a day.
You can't go to the office with flats. There are offices that are quite particular. Corporate wear entails heels.
Yeah, but if it's for my health, no, I will not do it. Yes, because the payment, the payment later, 10, 20 years from now, is more than any job, any luxury you can have today. Why? Because the biggest disease that we all are faced with is not cancer, is not diabetes, is not hypertension, is not pandemics of whatever nature, but it's e-mobility. The moment we lose mobility, which we are all faced with, and that's why I keep on going back to our grandparents, because our grandparents never wore diapers. I didn't see any one of them with a diaper. They died upright with just a walking stick. Today, you have a frame, a wheelchair, an automatic bed, stockings, things to tie in your legs, but you still can move. So these are the things that we need to ask ourselves. What is more important, the looks or the health? And we need to ask ourselves, if God blesses us to live 100 years, and let's say today I'm 60, and God blesses me to live another 40 years, will those 40 years be of pain and misery, whereby I'm always being pushed out in a wheelchair and left there for the mercy whoever would remember to put me back in the house? Or will I have a quality life where I can work, laugh, and play? You know, independent. In Europe and in America and in developed countries, older people are all faced with one big jail. The home, the nursing homes. You know, and even here in Kenya, we have introduced the homes. It's a jail. It's not a freedom place to be. So if all of us are going to go to the jail, can you avoid the jail so that you can still be free? So this is the question. This is the choice that we have to make.
It's true.
Yes.
And would you recommend wedges because they're not as sharp as this?
A shoe the shoe has to be minimalistic, like this. Minimalistic. Okay. If you must wear a shoe, I would recommend something minimalistic,
But men
almost
can
barefoot.
get away with that. Women, not really.
No, everybody can.
No one takes a look at how men dress. You can come anyhow, but women,
And
we're judged harshly.
And that's why I'm saying it depends. Do you care about the looks? Do you care about your health? What is more important? We have to have a hierarchy of
can't
importance.
have both.
No, you can't. I'm sorry, unfortunately. And the shoe has to be wide here,
Yeah.
so that your toes are not compressed. Because also the channels we call the sequences of the body that control these three planes of movement start on the feet, start on the hands, start on the head, or they end there. You get? So whenever this gets distorted, then we're in trouble.
Doctor, I'd like to know what book, thinker, or movie has had the greatest impact to how you approach life and why?
I think for me it was still Ben Carson, that he really believed he could separate these Siemens twins, even if it had never been done before, and had faith and that that just inner that inner energy that makes you feel I can do it. For me, that book still stands out. Yes.
So you recommend that we try Gifted Hands. I believe that's why you work a lot with your hands.
Yes.
We'll give it a try.
Yes.
What's your favorite sport in Africa and why? And what's the most African thing about you besides grounding?
It's like I love the tasteless African food.
What do you mean tasteless?
You know, in today's world, food has been engineered to a particular taste. Like when you go to eat junk food, you eat it and it's a drug. You're addicted immediately. You want to have it again and again. I was growing up, we were eating the leftovers that were not tasty. It was ugetheri, sometimes, not fried, nothing. It was just, we used to call machakura. I love that. And there's nothing no one can pay me to live outside Africa. I've been out, I've gone everywhere in the globe, but I think Africa or motherland is the only place I can live. So I'm more African than you can think. And I also believe so much in history and what our grandparents did. Yes.
And what's your favorite sport in Africa?
My favorite sport is camping.
Where?
I started the give back movement. I said it's called the Barefoot tour across the globe, and our aim is first of all to educate people, just to spend 30 minutes of their time to put their feet on the ground and see.
Is that 30 minutes a day? 30 minutes a week?
A day.
A day.
A day. It's only a day. It's only 30 minutes out of 24 hours. Those 30 minutes that you waste on your phone, looking at scrolling the phone, just do it for self-life. I think it's really powerful. Yeah.
Thank you so much for those insights. The last question I'd want to get, with the advancement in technology and what do you believe is the future of medicine in Africa, medicine and wellness in Africa?
I think Africa should adopt fascia manipulation the truth is that fascia will be like the internet. In a few years to come, everybody will be doing and talking about fascia. And Africa should take this as an advantage, so that, because fascia only requires the brain and your hands, meaning I can be able to reach my grandma. My grandma here means any old lady in the most remote place you can think of can be treated by just someone who has been exposed to the knowledge and the training and is willing to use their hands. Unlike now, that anytime we want to do any development or any healthcare, those people have to go into a city or a health center that has to be again built, equipped, brought in specialists, which is more resources. We can train one fascia person in a village, for example, and can serve that village to give them the opportunity to have opportunity equivalent to seeing a consultant in Nairobi, or in the best hospital where you can get the best care. And that whatever they would now not be able to manage, it would be so little that would need that specialized care, because most of the majority of the things can be fixed with doing some structural work, which could be fascia manipulation, could be acupuncture, could be something that helps your tissue, healthy eating, and movement. And people being able to understand that would change how we live. And that is only us being ready to look at back how our parents lived, our ancestors lived, our grandparents lived. We have to not abandon our culture, ourselves. We cannot just copy everything that we have been brought to because it looks nice, because it's beautiful. No. Also us. We don't have pride of being Africans, having our own. How come all what we had was witchcraft? All what we had was dirty, was backward? Come on, I don't believe that. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Dr. I'd like to know your parting words for us today. And please tell us where we can reach you, where we can find the Human Garage after this.
My parting shot is in a saying that I created this, that I say, Mother Nature is the best doctor, and barefooting is the barefoot doctor's prescription. We say keep it between stretch and relaxation, because pain is not a lifestyle. We say keep it simple, but keep it amazing. Why do I say that? When you walk barefoot, it's very simple, but the outcome is amazing. There's a research that just came out not too long ago that was looking at a diabetic lady, 80-year-old diabetic lady, who had a diabetic wound that had refused to heal in the most, in the most prestigious clinics in the US, wood clinics in the US. But 2 weeks, we can show you the research, 2 weeks of grounding, the wound was healed. The same research was done on the Tour de France. 3 days after somebody had an injury in the Tour de France, the wound was healed, because it was completely closed by grounding. So that enough tells us that we need to be able to take care of nature very, very, very carefully. And we need to be able to use the benefits that are free of us to use to get healthy. And these benefits are what I had mentioned: barefooting, breath work, sleep, meditation, fasting, what else? Silence. Things that are free, only willing. You only need to do a will to do it. It's only your will to do it. And of course, to be exposed on what
And
to
30
do.
minutes of grounding every day.
Yes, and cold. People fear cold. I just came back from Europe, and I tried to test my body by swimming in very cold temperatures in North Sea, in the Baltic Sea. I just wanted to know, when patients here are told ati umeingiza baridi, when patients are told here ati umeingiza baridi, ati you are suffering from cold disease, which is that disease called cold?
Pneumonia.
Pneumonia is not a disease of cold. It's a bacteria infection.
Really?
Cold only makes pneumonia worse. Because pneumonia, when it's a bacteria infection, will cause an inflammation in the body, in the tissues, that the fascia, because of the inflammation, will get what? Tight, isn't it? When it gets tight, the circulation of the circulatory onto the lungs and that is also get hampered, and that what makes it cold. And because your body is not able to regulate temperature, is not able to regulate its functionality, so it's not cold. Cold also does not cause arthritis. You get arthritis, or you get pain. Arthritis is more painful during cold because, again, the tissues are tight and stiff, and the circulation in the body and the movement in the body, movement in the joints is not as good. This is what causes the pain, and the cold only makes it worse. Because during cold, the body will try to do what? To get more stiffer, to protect itself. And there's already fire inside, so it makes it worse, but it's not the cause.
Thank you, Dr. A. So we need to research on our practices and go back to our roots.
Yes, we go back to our roots. And we can't say everything that West Africa is backward, because it's not.
Where can we reach you?
We are located at the Garden Estate. Our clinic is called the Human Garage. And we also have a branch in Mombasa. Our numbers are 0713 030 395 or 7. We were open Monday to Saturday, every day of the week.
On social, where are you guys?
On social media, we are at. I have my own account, the Barefoot Doctor. It's the Barefoot Doctor in all the socials, and we have the Human Garage, which is the humangarage.ke, and it's all the same with the all socials.
Thank you so much, and we look forward to having you back to learn more about these simple yet fantastic practices that improve on our health.
Thank you very much for having us, and thank you, the audience, for paying attention, giving your time to listen to us. And I hope one thing you can take, just try one of the things. Try breath work, try barefoot, just 30 minutes. Just love yourself. And maybe they give us a feedback in your comment page, their experiences.
I know the breathing exercise has some minutes. Probably you can give us that, and then we'll share how many minutes.
There are many breathing techniques, but I would recommend, I'll talk about 2. There's what you can find on the YouTube. It's called the Wim Hof breathing. Wim Hof guided breathing. It's 10 minutes. And then there's what is called 478. 478, again, is also on YouTube. It's just meaning you breathe in, as you count 4. As you breathe in, you count 4 times, and then you hold for 7, count of 7, and then you exhale out longer, a count of 8. Practice this before you go to bed, and the first thing when you wake up. Also switch off your phone, get off your phone by 9 o'clock, and make sure you get enough sleep, and see how things change. And then report to us if I'm lying or telling the truth.
I'll actually let you know when you come back. I will practice them all.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ari.
Thank you. So, when we look at the human body, we are told this is the musculoskeletal body system. But really, it's not like this. There's another membrane also that will be covering here, that will be all white. That is what we see when we buy meat. But if you remove some of that, then we may have something like this. But we never see a muscle on its own. A muscle is formed from one fiber, like a hair stretch. And that one fiber has another coating. And when there are many, they form a band of that. Now we form a muscle. So that coating is what we call the connective tissue, fascia. So why is it important for us to look at the history of the patient from a very young age? Is because as a kid grows, for example, you can end up having an ankle sprain, let's say on the right leg. And let's use my model here, that he had an ankle sprain in primary school playing soccer. And this happened. He went to the hospital, he was treated in physio, they did good exercises, he healed, and he forgot about it. But with this, something like this formed. If I can ask him to lift the hand up, can you see how difficult it is? Bring it back. Let's see before he had the ankle sprain. Can you lift it up? See how easy it is. Now, bring it down. So now, let's say in primary he had this ankle sprain. He got treated the way, conventional way of treating. Pain management, symptom management, swelling of the ankle, I can't walk with it. And then nothing was done really on the fascia. This knot stays here. He continues growing, he works. 10, 20 years later, he's sitting in an office as an accountant or someone spending most time seated. And then he starts complaining of low back. Maybe you can turn a bit, turn. Yeah. So, if we look, turn completely again. Turn again. So if we look at the suit before the ankle sprain, you can see the tension is really balanced. But after the ankle sprain, this happened to the suit. Let's see, there's a lot of tension. So this was never treated. And this guy has started working in the office, sitting a lot of the time. Then this, also because of that sitting, gets taut. Now, can you try to lift the hand now up? So he has shoulder pain, and he's also experiencing back pain. But how are these related? It's because this, since it was not treated properly, it was not released. That tension continued to build over the years to cause a dysfunction in the knee, in the hip, and here in the back where you're moving a lot. And because you also have muscles that go to supply the shoulder, also are pulled. And that's why lifting this one now becomes a problem and you develop shoulder pain. So you're treating shoulder pain 30 years from an ankle sprain, for example. And when you're treating this shoulder, because you go to hospital and you're told you have, let's say, torn rotator cuff, the doctor will do surgery to stitch the torn rotator cuff. But why did the rotator cuff get torn in the first place? The same with the back. The doctor will do surgery on the back to free up the tissue so that they can free up the nerve. But what happened? What caused this degeneration to happen is, for example, that ankle sprain in there 30 years ago. Same way, if from childhood you have been experiencing, let's say, colic. You started with colic as a baby, then a lot of gut issues, constipation, acidity, gas and bloating. Internally, the fascia will be doing this. And then this, no, don't bend too much. And then this guy works in an office. Work in an office, like you're working on a computer. Take a posture of a computer, and then slouch the way we all slouch. Okay? So this one will pull like this. And what happens to the back? A lot of tension. So this person will be treated by a doctor who specializes on gut problems. And when his back starts hurting, which is affected by the same knot here, he will go to an orthopedic surgeon. And the orthopedic surgeon will not talk with the gastroenterologist doctor about the gut issue. And the orthopedic surgeon will talk about the disc herniation, the disc prolapse that are happening here, the degeneration. And the treatment may be what? Surgical. But you have removed this and loosened it. You feel good for some time. But this surgery does not last more than 5 years before the pain again starts. Why? Because the initial cause of gut issues are still present. You can name anything that you want to you can think of. Headaches. You have headaches, but all the time, let's say you're always getting flus, allergies. Those allergies affect the lymphatic system. So the lymphatic system is everywhere like this. Gets pulled, gets tight. Okay? So it doesn't allow good lymph flow. And lymph carries our waste of the body to be removed. So when this happens, the head here, some people say, and it feels heavy because maybe the lymphatic fluid is not draining properly. So if we could release the lymphatic system, the lymphatic nodes, we would improve that headache without doing anything to the head. So understanding now this, how the fascia is able to connect everything, and understanding that the body cannot be treated in parts, and respecting the fact that the power that made the body heals the body is key to healing human beings, to give them health and wellness.
Every story we tell on the Power Dialogue Africa is a reflection of what's possible when courage and passion meet conviction. It's not just about celebrating trailblazers, it's about awakening the trailblazer in you. So before we go, ask yourself this: what's one step, one bold, barefoot step you can take today towards your fullest potential? If this conversation stirred something in you, hit that subscribe button and share it forward. Because when we amplify excellence, we multiply possibility for all of us. This is a Power Dialogue Africa, where bold ideas meet brave hearts and where every story becomes a blueprint for becoming. Until next time, I'll be cheering you on and encouraging you to your next power move.